Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the Drogar Session 2, and we're going to do the recap. Alright, so Schleepy Stoneyhorn, main character, a dwarf ranger, played by the hardcore player, an incredibly wonderful player that I met at, I would say he's a tabletop role-playing game enthusiast that I met at the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. So he comes down and he has made a path from Mount Hotenow to Phandalin, and he has 3 jobs to do. He's got to deliver messages and letters to Harbin Wester, the mayor of Phandalin. He has to meet with Woodcutter Demest, the leader of the woodcutters, and make an order for Forge Lord Shram. He needs 3 loads every 2 weeks delivered up to Mount Hotenow from the woodcutters, and he's increasing their order. And this lumber, is used to buttress the mining shafts that they are making in Mount Hotenow, right? Sleepy Stoneyhorn goes to Woodcutter Demest and says, hey, I came down all the way from Mount Hotenow. Woodcutter Demest greets him very well and says, hey, it's good to see you. And he says, okay, listen, I need these 3 loads delivered up to, of your lumber, delivered up to Mount Hotenow, directly to Forge Lord Shram, every 2 weeks, and we want a standing order for the next season, right? And Woodcutter Demest is like, hey, I'm so sorry. You guys have been such great customers for so long, but there's a problem. And he's like, I need to deny your request. And the reason why is I don't want to overcharge you, right? And right now, they are doing nothing but building houses in Neverwinter, and they're building ships in Waterdeep, right? So and now there's so much demand that we've actually sold at all our capacity for for months at 75% above our current rate. And I did not feel guilty in any way charging the nobles and the merchants of Waterdeep that amount, and Neverwinter and Waterdeep. But I feel bad charging Forge Lord Shram that amount. That's a 75 increase immediately, right? And I'm so sorry, the market's changed and we can't fulfill your order, right? Now, this shocked me. And this, I love Dungeons and Dragons so much. So the hardcore player, has Schleepy say, well, listen, that's bad news. We need that wood. But what if you could increase your capacity, right? And he's like, well, we're at capacity right now. And he's like, really? Okay, so there's nothing you could do to get more wood out of the Neverwinter, forest. And he's like, well, actually, we have people who are showing up to be woodcutters. The problem is we don't have enough area in the forest to cut. And the reason for that is the Emerald Enclave. Now, if you know, the Emerald Enclave is literally the Forgotten Realms faction that appeared that actually Doric, who was the elf druid in Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, she belonged to the Emerald Enclave. It's a faction, just like the Harpers, and they protect the wild. So it's druids and rangers and even some fighters and even some wizards, but people who are just dedicated to protecting the wilds of the Forgotten Realms, right? So the Emerald Enclave is saying, hey, you woodcutters, we're carving out this area and you guys can't come in, right? And so and actually there was even recently a physical fight between one of our woodcutters and the Emerald Enclave. And so I was blown away. So Schleepy Stoneyhorn goes, listen, let me go talk to the Emerald Enclave. If I can open up some more room in the forest, can you fulfill our order? And Woodcutter Demest says, oh my gosh, that's a freaking brilliant idea. That's a really, really good idea. And the reason why is I had been thinking about going and talking to the Emerald Enclave, but I'm a woodcutter, man. I'm literally carrying an axe, and every time we send any kind of woodcutters close, you know, it breaks down, right? But you're actually a ranger. They have quite a few rangers in the Emerald Enclave, and you're actually very good in the forest, right? Like you actually know how to pass through the forest in a way that is, you know, beneficial to the creatures in the forest. And so this is a great idea. We could really use your help here. So what's really wild is I had set up all these different adventures and all these different things to trigger adventures and to put adventures in front of this incredible player. But this incredible player generated the next adventure, right? So we didn't even reach it in this session 2, but at the end of session 2, Schleepy Stoneyhorn was literally going to deal with the Emerald Enclave. And that came completely out of this player being completely engaged with the conversation. And this came from interaction and exploration, right? This wasn't from the combat side. And I absolutely am blown away by just the level of quality and the level of engagement that is happening in this Dungeons & Dragons game. I'm incredibly blessed to be, you know, at the physical table. And I'm really blessed to have a fully 2024 core rulebooks campaign, the Dungeons & Dragons physical table Drogar campaign. And this is me continuing to recap session 2. Thank you so much for letting me share these with you. It's a delight, and it really helps me to process what's happening in the narrative of the story, keep it fresh in my head, to keep my brain and my heart and my spirit thinking about the narrative and how to make it grow organically and well. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion about the Drogar campaign. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider like, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.